Chapter 1. The Plantain and Banana Suckers. BabaJide and his son were playing a game of draft when they heard Mama shouting in the backyard. "Who did this?" she asked frantically. Not sure what was going on or whether it was serious or not, they continued playing. "Who did this?" Mama repeated. "Who wants to kill me? My enemies are trying to kill me." Papa and Jide ran to the backyard to see Mama pointing at the ground where new banana and plantain suckers had been planted. "What is it?" BabaJide asked, looking from Mama to the planted suckers and wondering what he was missing. "Don't you know banana and plantain trees are breeding grounds for witches?" Mama barked. "Take it off now, please." "Nonsense," said BabaJide, laughing. "This is a new type. Babalola gave them to me when I went to visit his farm. In a year, we will be harvesting plantains to sell and eat. This is good news. We are going to enjoy it." "I don't want this in our house," Mama cried. But deep down she knew it was pointless. Once her husband had made a decision, it was final. BabaJide never got to enjoy the fruits of his labor. For shortly after the first set of trees blossomed with purple flowers, he fell terribly sick and died. There was a rapid increase in the growth of the trees after he died, and the plantain and banana harvest was so great that they made a fortune selling them to other villages far and wide. Chapter 2. Jide's Marriage. Years had passed, and it was time for Jide to get married. He was rich, so finding the perfect wife was not a problem. Every woman wanted him. Not only was he rich, he was handsome and spoke very well. But Mama was a problem. She seemed to think most of them were not good enough for him. One was too tall, according to her, another had a wicked-looking mother, and she would be a problem in the future. One looked wayward, another had a bad father who wouldn't make a good in-law. It was, however, strange when Mama decided to settle for Ekaite, a Calabar woman who claimed to have lost her mother and father years ago in a fire and had no family. Mama agreed that she would become his wife on the condition that she would never visit her village again, since she had no living family members. Considering that her mother and father were both dead, this wasn't going to be a problem for Ekaite. The marriage was a very expensive one, but all was well. The newlywed couple now lived in the same house as Jide's mother. Chapter 3. Ekaite's Barrenness. Ekaite was very respectful and a good wife. She would wake up early in the morning and sweep the whole house. She would prepare breakfast and serve her husband and Mama. She was allowed to clean everywhere except a box in Mama's room. A metal, rusty old box with 3 mahogany locks. It was the last thing her husband touched before he died, and she wanted it to remain that way, untainted by any hands. She was a good wife and a kind daughter-in-law, so kind that Mama did not put any pressure on her after the first year had passed and she had not given birth. Then the second year came, followed by the third and the fourth, till the 10th year. "Mama, I don't know what is wrong with me," Ekaite cried. For even though Mama or her husband were not complaining, she was starting to feel something was wrong. "Be patient," Mama would always say, then give her a cup of her fertility herbal concoction to drink. "The time of the gods is the best." Jide remained the loving husband that he had always been. He never, for one day, made her feel less of a woman because she could not bear any children for him, and this got her suspicious. How could an African man, a Yoruba man for that matter, not bother about having offsprings? At least, there would have been talks of getting a new wife. To make matters worse, the villagers were talking, and people were pointing fingers. Some said she was a witch eating her children. Others said she was probably a prostitute before she met Jide, and her past sins were catching up with her. Poor Jide. Others said she was barren, and her mother-in-law was a fool not to have urged her son to kick her out. The side talks became so unbearable that one day Ekaite took her bags and left the house. Her plan was to go back to her village and meet the native doctor there. She was going to do it quietly, enter the village at night and sneak out again. She was sure that the people she left behind would not be happy to see her. Chapter 4. The Tele Akeko. So that night, while her husband slept and Mama was sleeping too, she packed some things she would need for the journey and left the house. She knew Mama would be angry with her, but she had no choice. Mama was good to her, but deep down, she was sure Mama wanted a grandchild. Mama was probably just being nice because of her son. She had to find a solution, and fast. She got to her village a day later and went straight to the native doctor's home. She explained everything to him, and he smiled. "I have been expecting you," he said calmly. And after he said that, there was a knock on the door. "You have a visitor." Not sure what was going on, a woman walked inside. She was so short yet extremely big, giving her the look of a giant that had stopped growing vertically, but continued growing horizontally. "Auntie Enobong!" cried Ekaite, half surprised and half happy. She was not sure what to do because the expression on the tall woman's face was not readable. "You!" she hissed, and just as Ekaite was about to cower in fear, Auntie Enobong picked her up as though she were a feather and hugged her. "You smell of enchantments," she said disgustedly, dropping her. "It is my anise and cardamom oil," Ekaite responded, as she gradually became comfortable. Auntie Enobong snorted, as though Ekaite had said something silly. "I felt her presence immediately when she entered the village," Auntie Enobong said to the native doctor. Then, at Ekaite, she said, "No notes, no invites, no explanation. You got married and forgot we existed." Ekaite tried to explain, but she was cut short by the native doctor, who brought out a calabash filled with liquid. "You have been trying to have a child for almost 10 years now," he said to her. Ekaite looked at Auntie Enobong, hesitant to answer. She shook her head in shame. "Now is not the time to be ashamed," Auntie Enobong said sharply. "We have heard the rumors. Some say you are eating your children. Others say you are barren." Her voice was drowned out by Ekaite, who immediately started sobbing. "I don't know what is wrong with me," she sobbed. "But you are pregnant now," the native doctor said, ignoring her sobs. Ekaite looked at him, and then at Auntie Enobong, who nodded, and then shook her head. "It is not true," said Ekaite. "You have been pregnant 9 times, the native doctor continued. "Representing each year, you have been married to your husband." "How is that possible?" Ekaite cried. "It is not my story to tell," the native doctor said ominously. "I can lose my life if I reveal such powerful information to whoever it concerns. Take this and drink it. And at the end of the 9th month, after you have given birth, come back to us. Make sure you find a way to come." Ekaite took it hesitantly. Once it touched her hand, the concoction began to smoke. She looked into the bowl of clear liquid and could have sworn she saw the face of someone familiar. She shook the thought off and drank it. There was a sudden rumbling in her stomach, then a surge of some sort of power that snaked from her lower back to the top of her spine and ended with an explosion in her head. She fainted immediately, while the calabash fell to the ground, spilling what was left in it. They both laughed satisfactorily as both Auntie and the native doctor watched her fall to the ground. "Find a way to take her back," the native doctor told Auntie Enobong, matter-of-factly. "She must not be seen. You must not be seen." Auntie Enobong nodded. She wrapped Ekaite in a rug from top to bottom and carried her effortlessly, as though she were a feather again. Chapter 5. Mama's Woes. Meanwhile, back at home, Mama woke Jide up with her screaming the next day. Jide, whose eyes had been swollen from lack of sleep and crying, ran outside. In the few days that his wife had disappeared, he could not sleep or eat. He was worried. He did not even go to deliver the plantains, as he always did. "Mama, what is it?" Jide asked, and then his eyes caught the rolled-up rug at their doorstep. It had black hair sticking out of one end. He quickly untied the rug and shouted as Ekaite rolled out of it, coughing. He picked her up with much difficulty and took her into the room. "Where have you been?" Mama screamed at her as she wrinkled her nose. "Why do you stink so much?" "Mama, I was kidnapped," she said truthfully, for she believed that was what happened. "Two men came into the house in the night, and that is the last thing I remember." "My God, I have failed you," said Jide defeatedly. He knelt beside her. Mama looked at them, and then she pointed at Ekaite as she noticed something. "You are pregnant." It was as though a light bulb had suddenly been partially turned on. "Yes, Mama," she said, and then she began to shed tears of joy. "You don't mean it," said Jide, trying not to be excited even though he failed hopelessly at it. He kissed her forehead. "I am so happy." Mama smiled tiredly. "It only means my fertility concoction is working. Praise be to the gods. Let me get some more for you to drink, but first you must burn those clothes, you stink." "Mama, she is fine. I cannot smell anything," shouted Jide excitedly. "My wife is back, and that is all that matters." But Mama insisted. "Don't worry. Once you take my concoction, all that smell will go away." Mama dashed out to get the concoction, muttering to herself as she did so. It was clear she was happy. She clearly never expected this blessing. Finally, she would be a grandmother. She came in with the concoction and gave it to Ekaite to drink. Ekaite drank it as she always did, and Mama smiled. Her wrinkled nose suddenly became normal, but then Ekaite retched violently and vomited everything. There was a worried look on Mama's face, and her nose wrinkled again. Jide, on the other hand, had gotten a bucket of water, soaked it with a rag, and wiped his wife's feet. Mama gave her the concoction again, and she drank it. Just as her nose was unwrinkling due to her reduced smell, Ekaite retched and vomited the concoction once more. Mama squeezed her nose again because the smell was unbearable. "It must be the morning sickness," said Jide. "Mama, please let her be. Don't give her that again. She will try later." Mama seemed concerned as she left the room for the both of them. She sat on her chair and stared at the trees outside her house. It was only now that she noticed one of the flowers had turned a violent grey, almost like it was dead. Chapter 6. Ekaite's pregnancy and Jide's disappearance. Days turned to weeks, and weeks turned to months. Her stomach was finally showing, and the talk around the town changed considerably. "Did you notice she is glowing?" sang market woman number 1. "I have never seen anyone so beautiful," beamed market woman number 2. "And the husband is so sweet. He has been sharing plantains and bananas with the villagers." "The gods bless him," praised meat seller number 3. "He clearly loves his wife so much." But in the 9th month of the pregnancy, Jide disappeared without a trace. Not only did he disappear, but 9 of the banana trees had withered completely. "How could he do this to me?" Ekaite cried as the 9th month came to an end. She was getting so big, and she was sure she would give birth soon. Plus, her lower abdomen was starting to feel tight. "Jide, my son," Mama lamented as she described him to the 100th town crier that had come to pass the message that he was missing. Not taller than the banana tree, handsome, and very muscular, the most popular plantain seller in the whole of Kualai. The town crier took note of all of this, and set out to deliver the message to all who could hear it. The 9th month passed, and still, Ekaite's belly grew bigger. Then the 10th month came, the 11th, the 12th, and the 14th. Ekaite became worried. No baby in sight, no husband. What was going on again? The neighbors had resumed another set of talks. One said she was indeed a witch, and this proved it. Another said it was the wicked deeds the husband had done in the past that were affecting her. "Where is the husband, eh?" added one of the village criers maliciously. "Disappeared without a trace, just like his father. Useless generation of men." Another said, "Mama probably killed her husband, and this is how she is getting paid. What a shame to be grandmotherless for 14 years. And to make matters worse, there were only 2 banana trees left, and by the looks of it, they wouldn't last till the end of the month." Mama would sit down around the banana tree and cry profusely, knowing that their source of income would be drying up very soon. What could she do? As she cried, one of the trees withered before her very eyes. It was at this point that Ekaite decided she had to go back to her village and find a solution. Surely this was not normal. They could even tell her where her husband was if she was lucky. That night, as she bade Mama good night, she packed her things and waited till it was dead quiet so she could leave the house without Mama knowing. Once she was sure Mama was asleep, she got up, walked silently across the house and to the door, and made to open it. Chapter 7. The Other Fruit Harvest. "Where are you going by this time, Ekaite?" Mama said solemnly. Ekaite almost had a heart attack. She turned around, and Mama was there, sitting on a mat on the floor, the lamp she had just lit brightening her face to show her smiling. "Mama, I just wanted to go and pluck one of the bananas outside. I was craving it." "All my bananas are dying," Mama said to her, "and I don't know why." Mama wrinkled her nose again. "You stink. Oh my goodness." Ekaite was used to this by now. "Mama, I am sorry," she said. "I just want to go." "To Ekorinim?" Mama responded, mentioning the name of Ekaite's village. "Ekaite, I thought we had an agreement." "Mama, I don't know what you are talking about." "Don't lie. I can always tell. I have always known, but I opted for peace. You went to your village, did you not? That was where you were for the 2 days that you went missing." "Mama, it is not like that," Ekaite tried to explain. "I just wanted to help. That is all." "Help who?" Mama screamed, and instantly the door shut itself, startling Ekaite. "I told you we were comfortable and happy as 3. "But Mama, the villagers were talking. They were calling me a witch. They were calling you a witch." "They did not lie," Mama responded snidely. "I told you that you stink. You stink of enchantments from another witch." And just as though it all happened yesterday, everything came rushing back, including the moment Auntie Enobong told her she reeked of enchantments. "Mama," said Ekaite, not sure of what was going on but trying to put the pieces together, "did you put a curse on me?" "I cannot risk that last banana tree dying, Ekaite," Mama said, ignoring her question. "You are not supposed to bring another fruit into this family. We were satisfied with the bananas, but you went and ruined everything for us." "Mama," said Ekaite in a final sort of way, "I am going, and there is nothing you can do about it." "Are you sure?" Mama cackled, and the next instant she was by the door and in front of Ekaite. Ekaite tried to scream, but no sound left her mouth. "I might not be able to touch your baby because of that idiot you call Auntie, but at least I can destroy the oven. I have kept the baby in there long enough." "Mama, please!" Ekaite cried, but Mama picked her effortlessly, just as Auntie Enobong had, and placed her on the floor. She muttered some incantations, and an invisible force pushed itself on her, pinning her to the floor. Mama went into the room and took out a calabash. "I have been giving you the wrong concoction," she said. "I should have been trying to kill you instead, not your baby. I am sorry. It would have given the same results. What was I thinking?" Ekaite could not believe her ears. "The moment you returned and you were stinking, I knew another witch had gotten to you. But stubborn me kept trying to give you the concoction that I have been giving you for years to kill your babies. Only your baby fought back this time and forced you to throw it all up. This won't happen again, I promise. Forgive me for the inconvenience." She uttered some words, and the calabash began to bubble. She took some leaves and put them in the calabash and danced, bobbing her head up and down as though in a trance. "Ekaite, my daughter, please drink this." It was as though Mama was merely offering a sick person some medication to make her feel better. An outsider listening in wouldn't have been able to tell that there was something sinister going on inside the house. Ekaite shook her head, but at the same time, against her will, she raised her head and opened her mouth to drink. "Stop that!" came a loud voice from outside, followed by a loud boom as the whole house shook. Mama looked at the door as a second boom hit the house, shaking it from its very foundation. Someone was trying to get in. Ekaite tried to scream to alert people to what was happening, but no sound came out. "I am busy!" Mama snapped. She sounded more irritated than scared, but the boom continued. "Leave now or else!" "Or else what?" The last boom sounded, and the door was blown off its hinges with an almighty crash. It landed on the floor a few inches away from Mama, who was crouched on the floor about to feed Ekaite with the concoction. You might have as well thrown a paper at Mama. The reaction was the same. She barely flinched. Chapter 8. A Mother's Tale. "You almost killed me with that!" Mama cried. Auntie Enobong squeezed herself into the house. "Oh, please," Auntie Enobong responded. "You and I know nothing as mundane as anything in this realm can kill you." It only took a second. Mama dipped her hand into the concoction, and it turned into green fire. She hurled the fire at Auntie Enobong, who was just as quick and brandished something dirty, something sandy, and something pale green. Mama screamed and hissed violently, just in time before her fire could hit its unintended target. Auntie Enobong was holding the last banana tree, cleanly dug out. Its roots were hidden in a big block of dug-up sand. It looked intact and well-preserved. "Enobong, how dare you!" she screamed. "You won't! You cannot!" She got up to lunge at Auntie Enobong, but Auntie Enobong's left hand had become a fiery ball. "One false move, and I will burn your heart to pieces," she warned. "You dare not!" Mama screamed. "You won't! You cannot!" "Oh, but I will for my daughter," said Auntie Enobong. "If you don't confess, set her free." There was silence, and Enobong moved the flames towards the dying banana plant. The right side of Mama's body went up in flames. "No!" she screamed. "Okay, okay!" she shouted, and Enobong removed the fire. Mama's body stopped burning. She sat down with a defeated sigh. "You know what will happen to me if I confess, right?" "Much better than what would happen if I destroyed your life source against your will," said Auntie Enobong. "I should burn it. Imagine what that would do for me, the powers I would harvest. But no, I need you to confess. I am giving you a chance. Talk." "It started when my husband, BabaJide, brought those plantain suckers to plant," said Mama. "I warned him not to, but he would not listen." Mama recounted the story of how everything started. Shortly after the bananas began to grow, she was instructed to attend to them in the evenings when the sun was down and the weather was cold. Knowing what she knew, she attended to them only in the afternoon when the sun was hot and everywhere was bright. One day, she was so tired that she did not attend to the bananas until evening. "I don't know what I was thinking," Mama cried, recalling all that had happened. As Mama tried to water them, she was pulled into one of the leaves. She suddenly found herself in a cave, where she was instructed by some women to kill her husband. Failure to do so would result in the death of her son, herself, and any woman who tried to come into the family and give birth would have the same fate. The planting of the bananas meant that it was going to be the only thing to bear fruit in their household. It would be the only fruits that they harvest. "That was my punishment for deserting them a long time ago," Mama cried again. "I was so stupid." "So you killed your husband?" Auntie Enobong said. Mama shook her head. "No, but of course I could not keep him here," Mama said. She joined her hands together as if in prayer and muttered some incantations. There was a loud ruffle in her room, followed by banging noises, and then the rusty metal box zoomed out of her room. "I kept him hidden. Spellbound, of course," Mama said. "Then Jide got older and wanted to marry. I knew this was going to pose a problem. I could not risk him marrying just anybody. What if he married someone whose parents knew things? They would expose me. Ekaite was perfect. She was an orphan with no family members, or so I thought. I quickly agreed." Ekaite looked at her, and at Auntie Enobong, tears now falling from her eyes. But Mama continued. "As long as I kept her from having children," Mama said, "all would be well. She had no family members, so no one would be worried enough about her to try and find the solution to her lack of children. No new fruits, and no problem." "But she was worried on your behalf," Auntie Enobong cut in, "and sought to find a solution." "Yes, I was going to give her the concoction the following day," Mama said. "I already sensed life growing in her. But she disappeared, met you, and you gave her a protective concoction and brought her back." Auntie Enobong nodded. "I knew I was in trouble, of course, even though it was temporary. The plan was supposed to be simple. Kill the baby and get it over with. My son loved her. Killing her was not going to be an option." "But you could not kill the baby," Auntie Enobong said. "Obviously," Mama replied, "but I could keep it in there for as long as I wanted." "So you hid your son too," Auntie Enobong said, "when you noticed all the banana trees were dying?" "Yes. I hoped that the depression would make Ekaite run mad, leave or something, or cause her to lose the baby." "But nothing was working," Auntie Enobong said proudly. "My counter concoction was too strong." Mama smirked. "No," Mama sneered. "The bit of me in that baby through my son was getting too strong. There was nothing I could do about it. Tonight was the final straw, the last tree. I had to finish her once and for all." "But you have failed," Auntie Enobong said. "I am here now. She will give birth to that baby. Your confession has set you free. It is time to harvest a new type of fruit." Chapter 9. The Student versus the Teacher. "Says who?" Mama hissed. Enobong did not have time to respond. Mama had split herself in two. Her projected form was still on the floor, looking at Enobong, keeping her distracted while her real self had appeared behind Enobong. She grabbed the banana tree from her and vanished. Auntie Enobong ran towards Ekaite, who was still pinned on the floor. She muttered something, took out a piece of cloth and tore it forcefully. The force pinning Ekaite down dissolved and she got up. "We need to get you out of here now." Once again, like a feather, she picked Ekaite up and made to leave, but the door on the floor zoomed away from them, and back to its hinges before shutting them inside. Mama reappeared directly in front of them. "You know it is foolish to try and stop me." Mama pressed her hand on Enobong's chest, and they both flew back to the ground from whence they came. "Give her to me." Before Enobong could respond, Mama was gone again. But her voice and laughter echoed around the house. "Whatever you try to do will not work," Mama said seriously. She appeared once again in front of Auntie Enobong and pushed her. She fell back, hitting the box before crashing behind it. "We have to get that baby out. It is the only way we can win her," Auntie Enobong cried, getting up. She went to Ekaite and placed her hand on the bare belly. "When I give you the go-ahead, you push." Auntie Enobong put her hand on the belly and then muttered something that sounded like "Sitai ni ikai inke alaputa." There was a small rumble in the stomach, but nothing happened. "Should I push now?" Ekaite screamed. "I am feeling the urge." Just then, Mama materialized by the door. "You are going to have to do more than that," Mama said. "I taught you better. Use the language of the land on which you stand." Enobong breathed deeply. "Nipa agbara ayeg Jide," she bellowed. There was a greater rumble this time, followed by Ekaite screaming, "Should I push now? I feel it." "Yes," shouted Mama mischievously. "No," Auntie Enobong cried. "You will die if you do it. There is something binding your baby to you." She looked all over the house. "I taught you well," said Mama, impressed. "Look for the knot," said Mama. "I dare you to find it." Enobong took a deep breath and muttered again, "Sitai niken ke ikuku, gosi mamara." The windows opened, and there was a big gush of wind blowing all over the place. "The language of the land on which you stand," Mama cried with an air of frustration. Enobong took a deep breath again. "Nipa agbara afefe, fi ore ofe hanmi." The wind came again, this time stronger, and the mahogany locks quivered. Chapter 10. Imole. Enobong, realizing what she needed to do, took out a drawstring purse from her clothes and blew out the contents. It formed a barrier. Mama tried to push her again, but she was knocked back. With this temporary protection, Enobong dragged the box closer. She opened the first lock and opened the box. There was an ancient-looking man there. He waved at her absent-mindedly. She closed the box back, locked it, and opened the second lock. She saw Jide there. He waved at her absent-mindedly, and she locked it. Behind them, Mama was trying to break through the barrier. Auntie Enobong opened the third lock, and all she saw was all sorts of food. She locked it again. And this time she opened all three locks at once. Mama screamed as the box opened, and an ancient-looking brooch, shaped like a hakefish, swallowing its own tail with a broken piece of broom, fastening the tail and the mouth together. Without warning or giving it a second's thought, she pulled out the broom and then pulled the tail from the mouth of the fish. Mama let out a scream, and immediately the banana tree appeared between her and the barrier. "Now push," Auntie Enobong ordered. And even before Ekaite could do anything, before she could even make an effort, there was a gush of water from between her legs, and then something heavy landed on the floor, and an instant later, the whole room was filled with the cries of a baby girl. Mama fell down, and the already dying leaves of the banana tree fell to the ground. It was hard to tell if it was a cry of defeat or relief when Mama began to cry. "Look at her," Auntie Enobong said as she handed the baby to Ekaite. Ekaite took the crying baby, tears in her eyes, and she cried even more. The barrier faded away, and Mama waved her hand weakly. Enobong instinctively tried to shield whatever it was that Mama was trying to do, but stopped when she noticed the mahogany locks opened, and the box lid slid open. Mama's husband climbed out of it. He looked so old and withered. But when he saw Mama and ran to her, he was quite agile. The lid closed again and reopened itself. This time, Mama's son climbed out of it. He shook his head as if to shake off something and then moved to his wife. Enobong gave way for them. He kissed Ekaite and smiled at the baby. "She looks like Mama," Ekaite said. "I love her so much." At the mention of Mama, Jide looked at his dying mother who was being consoled by his father. Mama shook her head as if to say, "I am sorry." The last banana leaves fell to the ground. "Let her carry her," Ekaite said. "Let her feel her granddaughter." Jide looked at her, unsure. Ekaite looked at Auntie Enobong, perhaps to get an approval. She nodded, and Jide took the baby to Mama, who carried her with support from her husband. Even as a baby, the resemblance was uncanny. Mama could have as well been looking at the baby version of herself. "Thank you," she said. She handed the baby back to him, held on tight to her husband, and together they faded away into the air. As the spirits of BabaJide and Mama faded away, a soothing breeze swept through the house, carrying a sense of peace and closure. Auntie Enobong looked at Ekaite, who was cradling her newborn daughter, a radiant smile on her face. "Your family is finally free," Auntie Enobong said, her voice filled with a mix of relief and satisfaction. Ekaite nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I cannot thank you enough for everything you've done. Without you, I would have lost my family, my daughter, and perhaps even my life." The news of the miraculous event spread through the village. The once dying banana trees were replaced with yams, and the abundance of the yam harvest brought prosperity to the entire community. Ekaite and Jide became respected figures, known for their resilience and love that triumphed over adversity. The baby, named Imole, grew into a beautiful, healthy child. The villagers celebrated her birth, and she became a symbol of hope and renewal. Years passed, and Imole grew into a strong and compassionate young woman. The story of her family's ordeal and triumph became a legend in the village, passed down from generation to generation. Auntie Enobong, satisfied with her role in bringing about this positive change, continued her spiritual work, helping others in need. She visited Ekaite from time to time, ensuring that the family remained blessed and protected. And so, the once cursed family found happiness, and the memory of the challenging times served as a reminder of the power of love, resilience, and the support of those who genuinely cared.